everybody. Welcome to another episode of When Calls the Hallmarkies. And today we are going to have a lot of fun. We're talking about season 10, episodes 8 and 9. We're getting to the home stretch. Some pretty big episodes happen. And I'm film critic Grace Wagner, and Caroline's here.
Hey.
And Mary's here.
Hello.
How are you both doing?
Good.
Ready to do this.
So our last episode, I went on a little Nathan rant. You weren't here, Caroline, but yeah, I was very upset about, still to me, the inexplicable scenes with Nathan and Faith that I just couldn't believe the writing, that you would have this whole relationship happen off screen. It still doesn't make any sense to me. I still think there was something that happened that made them change, and they clunkily rewrote it. It's the only thing that makes sense to me. There's no, I don't know. I just can't with that. But now we have, it's like they somehow saw into the future, my critiques, and implemented them in these next episodes because they were so much better, I thought, than the previous two episodes. And I would say episode 9 is like pretty peak When Calls the Heart. It was very effective, I thought. Do you agree?
Yeah. I thought so.
Yeah. Yeah, I was like, oh my gosh, they're actually engaged. Like, this is gripping. I'm in.
Yeah. Lots of things happening.
Yeah. So we're gonna talk about it. It's gonna be fun. All right. So episode 8 is called What Is and What Should Never Be. And it's Elizabeth encourages Gowan to seek forgiveness from Rosaline to heal old wounds. Meanwhile, Montague continues to raise suspicion. So overall, Caroline, what do you think of this episode?
I love this episode because it went back to season 1. And I've been saying this for a while now, that season 10 has so much season 1. Like, it reminds me so much of season 1. And so bringing back Rosaline makes it even better to me.
What do you think, Mary?
Yeah, I agree. I loved that way to bring in some of the past and these characters and that full circle. So it feels like we're still a part of the same show, the same town, and that loveliness. Did not like all the drama that came from it online afterward, though.
That was not good.
Yeah, they're really good at pushing the buttons that need to be pushed. Calls the Heart. Yeah, people are very invested. But I guess what gets me is that I feel like sometimes the Hardys, sometimes they actively want the show to be boring. And that's where I struggle, because I want things to happen. I want the characters to be dynamic, to make mistakes, to learn, to grow, to have story arcs. And so often I feel like whenever they sort of dip their toe into anything that's interesting to complex characters, then the fans don't like it. And so I understand why they then move away from, like, I understand why they've made Lucas a pretty bland character this season, because, you know, all the people, oh, she can't be with a saloon owner, you know, and all that. And as opposed to, like, okay, what does that mean for our character and making her learn and grow? And so that's where I sometimes get frustrated with the show. And I wish that, I sometimes wish that the Hardys could just be like a little bit more ambitious in their TV watching and want a little bit more.
Yeah.
You know?
They're like, I'd like some conflict or some drama. Not that conflict and drama.
Yeah.
That's maybe how I feel, like some depth, but oh wait, not that way.
Yeah.
I saw some people say they didn't like that Lucas was only with Elizabeth in scenes. And now, like, this season, he's having a pretty big arc without Elizabeth, with the town. I'm like, this is so good. Like, he's involved in the town. Like, they don't treat him differently. So
it's like, give them something to do, make it interesting. I mean, that's the thing I liked in this episode with Nathan. We actually got him, like, some self-awareness from him about the things that I have been frustrated with him as a character. That, you know, he talks about how he's just not great at relationships, and he's not great at communicating with women. And that's when I said that I thought that Nathan was a wimp. That was my inarticulate what I was trying to say, is that, come on, like, say something, do something, make a move, and so at least, like, I felt like, okay, there's some self-awareness about that, which makes it interesting. That adds a layer. He knows, and it's not just somebody that's just kind of in the room. I want him to do something, and so I don't know. It's an interesting dynamic that I often find myself like, I often find myself looking at the show through a different lens than I think a lot of the Hardys are. That they want something just really, really peaceful and nothing really happening.
I guess people still have PTSD from all the Jack mess.
Season 5.
They're like, that was rough.
Yeah. I mean, and that's the other thing too, is that I feel like the show plays it safe like 99% of the time, which it's the show. That's what it is. It's fine. But then every once in a while they do something totally crazy. And then of course the fans are like, what? And that means season 5 was totally that way. I mean, it made no sense to write it that way, to have them get married. And 2 episodes later, they're like, what? And so, yeah. And then they're like, I can't believe people are upset. I'm like, what? It's crazy. It's like, gonna feel that way too here with this. It's just like, we've just been coasting for a season and a half. And then all of a sudden these 2 episodes, it's like,
throwing this wrinkle and everyone's like, what?
Yeah.
I have this thing where I then try to read into it a different way than maybe, I don't know, to make myself feel better. I'm like, and I saw a lot of that online, like the way that Nathan's looking at her, I'm like, he's thinking about something else, not thinking I'm still pining for this woman. So I have to like tell that stuff in my brain because I don't know how to read it. I need a couple more episodes to then get my thoughts in order.
Yeah.
How this is all going and playing out, because the panic online, like I said again, was
I had to kind of like calm people down. I'm like,
you did. I loved it. We're saying like, everybody calm down. You know, that she is her end game. You guys are reading way too much into this.
Yes.
Who said that?
I was trying to help people like realize.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's interesting because none of the cast are able to pipe in because of the strike.
I think that's what people are like, usually Aaron and other people are responding and
saying, actually, this is kind of what, they're giving us context and we don't really have that. Well, so
Ho, ho, ho. We'd like to take a second and thank our sponsor for this episode of the podcast. It's the Hallmarkies Patreon.
Do you love Hallmarkies podcasts, especially at Christmas?
Do you enjoy the holiday previews, recaps, interviews, and bonus episodes?
If the answer is yes, please consider supporting the Hallmarkies Patreon. We need your help to do what we do both during the Christmas season and all year round.
But not only do you help a podcast led by strong, independent women by becoming a Patreon, you get to become a part of the Hallmarkies family.
Starting at only $2 a month as a patron, you will have access to our Facebook Patreon group where we talk about the movies, shows, and more all year.
We also have many monthly patron watch-alongs with guests like Lacey Chabert, Natalie Hall, Paul Campbell, Mary Lou Henner, and more, giving their behind-the-scenes details of their films.
As a patron, you also have the chance to provide input into the podcast and even join us at different tiers.
So this Christmas season, spread some cheer to the Hallmarkies Patreon and become a member today. You won't regret it.
Go to patreon.com/Hallmarkies to learn more.
That's patreon.com/Hallmarkies.
Doing it on the Facebook page, like they're like, Nathan is a friend. Nathan is a friend.
That's
like
true.
All this.
They are good
stuff.
friends. And I saw a lot of people pointing out the parallels to Downton Abbey, where she goes to the grave, to get some closure, to think about, and how the whole time, they're not going to give us this whiplash back to a triangle.
It's very obvious.
You say that,
what
I
they're
absolutely
trying to do.
think they could, and I wouldn't be surprised at all if the geniuses of What Calls the Heart did that. It wouldn't surprise me a bit. I mean,
can't handle it.
When I was watching there, I really did wonder is Chris McNally going to be off the show, because would explain a lot. Like if he had told them like in the middle of the season, oh, I don't want to be back, then that would make the sense of why they had this clunky, terrible change to Nathan and Faith. And then, you know, this all of a sudden this plot change. But because you could totally see like him, okay, he's going to run for governor and there's going to be a plot kind of thing where he either wins or he, you know, something happens and then he's forced to say, what am I going to do? I could see that totally happening. But I think we talked about it in our group chat that he is in season 11, I think. So that's not true, but it would make a lot of sense. So there was a side of me that was like, is he? But they were very effective in making me think, I can't believe how quickly that even me as a skeptic, I can't believe how quickly they got me on the, oh my gosh, are they really going to do this train? Like, it's just, and the people that are team Nathan, bless their hearts, because they're going crazy on social media. I've never seen so many longing look montages in my life. Yes. I mean, they certainly have never kissed. And so all they have to do is like hobble together all of these like longing looks from Nathan together and make it seem like an actual relationship.
Close-ups of all the blue-eyed stares.
And so yeah, it's wild. But I did love this whole plot line with the choir.
Oh,
I thought that was fun.
That was so much fun. I mean, how many things did I write down? Some very great Rosemary lines about, and all the ideas. She has a ton of ideas for Minnie. And then Elizabeth says, it's okay if we're rusty. And Rosemary, Elizabeth, rusty is for nails.
Not for choirs.
Really good.
And not for choirs. And then the first practice, Minnie says, well done, just a little pitchy. And Rosemary goes, to say the least, under her breath. This was so much fun. I love this sort of group dynamic thing where they're working on something together, and it's just so sweet. Beautiful song.
Did you think of the sister act too? Like when they were doing the Oh Happy Day? Like as soon as I started hearing that song, I'm like, oh happy. Like I was
some great songs. I love that. Will the circle be unbroken by and by? Yeah, it's some of my favorite like spiritual folk songs that they had. I really enjoyed that.
And Ben singing. I was like, go ahead, Ben. I was like, you got this, bud.
And poor May.
It was cute.
She's a terrible singer. That was
so fun though.
Cast full of singers, it seems.
Yeah, I know. I mean, that's my dream is to have a musical episode. Oh, I would die.
Let's do it.
It would be unbelievable.
A Christmas musical episode.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if Andrea is a singer, but I mean, you've got Erin. She can sing.
Kevin.
Oh, Christmas. Yes.
Yep. I love how May said, oh, we're terrible. And Hickam says, you sound great. And I wrote down, oh, he'll flirt with any of the three women. He just needs a girl. Like he was making eyes and flirting with Fiona and then with Faith and now with May. Let's just settle Hickam down and he'd be a cute father and husband. I'm one of those.
Oh, I need it.
Happy ever after.
I know. Yeah, but I was feeling the May and Hickam. I thought it was cute. I was like, okay. He's so thoughtful.
Cute.
He's very sweet. Like you have to protect him at all costs because you don't break his heart or I'll come in right after you because he's just so sweet.
Yeah, exactly. So we also have in this episode, we have Allie wanting to babysit. And I know this show's not historically accurate, but babysitting wasn't really a term used until the 1950s. They became a thing with like baby boomers, and the whole concept of like babysitting wasn't really a thing this time, but that doesn't matter. But it's just kind of fun. And so then Allie gets the chance to watch little Jack, and he is a good hider.
Oh yeah. I resonated with this so much because twice in my life we've had a big hunt for a younger sibling who's been hiding or fell asleep somewhere. I mean, I'm saying like the whole town came out one time, like when we lived in this small town to look, and this little brother was just behind the door curled up on a blanket. And it's just like this was so it almost triggered me, like, oh no, the little boy's missing, quick. But what a cute little stinker Jack is with that smile when Nathan removes the furniture and he's like, hey, I'm here.
I thought he was going to be outside. That's what
I did too.
Yeah. I I don't know if we had anybody like lost like that, but we did have one time where my little brother, he was like 3 or 4. He had like a night terror and he just ran out of the house.
Oh.
And so we were trying, and he ended up, there was like a path. It was in like the early morning, like 5, 6 a.m., whatever. And there was a walking path behind. And we finally found him like on the walking path. And I think it's somebody else had, a runner or something, had seen him. And anyway, that was the closest I can think of that something like that happened, that he just like bolted from the house.
Oh,
little brother. Yeah. But yeah, babysitting, and it can be a challenge.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot of responsibility.
She was super stressed.
Yeah, it would be stressful.
I think I was her age when I started babysitting.
Mm-hmm.
Me and my friend did it together. We had our little side business.
Oh, the Babysitters Club.
Yes, it was like double team or something like that. Like that's what we called it.
Oh, that's cute. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. How old is Allie supposed to be? Do we know? 14? 15?
I think 14.
14.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess, yeah, around there.
Yeah. So we're starting to find out about this Montague. Things are getting a little fishy because he doesn't know like anything about Jamie at all, anything about his school. And he doesn't seem to really know anything about Madeline, where she's at, what's going on. And then Elizabeth goes up there and sees that they're digging some kind of well.
They say, right?
Yeah, so they say.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then also Rosemary and Lee get the plans for the order. And there's some kind of bridge or something that
a trestle bridge.
Trestle bridge.
Claiming, which is, at least the way I understand trestle bridges, aren't they? Or railroads can go over them, but maybe not necessarily. Or like a road, it's just a certain type of building. Anyway, so they keep looking at the map, saying, well, if they want to build here, but that doesn't make sense because the road's over here. So everything is very sus. I wrote down to sound like the kids today. Very sus.
Yeah. Well, and so then Elizabeth's kind of huffy about it. And Lucas says he's a guest and I run the hotel. And he says, but I don't trust him. And he says, I serve a lot of people and that I would never trust. In general, I've learned it's better to keep your enemies close. And she says, I think you'd want to keep them further away. What do you think about that, Caroline?
I think that whenever I heard that, as soon as I heard it, I'm like, he's going to run for governor. Like he's going to do whatever to try to help Hope Valley. And it was cute when he said, well, you thought that of me when I first arrived.
Yeah, that was cute.
Oh, yeah.
That was like, that's cute.
Touché.
Yeah, didn't you feel the same way about me when I first came to town? Yeah,
but then he apologized later. So that was sweet.
What do you think about that, Mary? Keep your enemies close?
I personally would keep them far away. Let what is that whole parable with the snake? You knew what I was when you picked me up, kind of thing. He bites the person. But this did show interesting back and forth in their relationship too, about communication and trust. But yeah, I would keep him far away. But he's Lucas. He's got that,
Well, the thing about the snake analogy, and I love that analogy, is that the Indian is expecting, the Native American is expecting the snake to change. Right? But that's not what Lucas is. Lucas knows this is a snake. He knows what he's dealing with is a snake.
True.
And so the idea of keeping your enemies close is that how much trouble can they kind of get into if you're watching them and kind of. So that's where it would make kind of sense to me.
Oh
but
yeah.
but it's, I can see both sides, because you don't want to be associated and included in with this, the snake, and be lumped in
With this Montague and his nefarious ways.
Yeah.
His
And
planning.
I'm not as cool and slick as Lucas, because I just avoid conflict at all costs. So that's why. Like,
But he's strong and confident.
home.
Yeah, he's going to handle it. But the rest of us are like, I don't want to get into that.
Yeah. From the newest sensation in contemporary romance comes a delightfully heartwarming holiday story that's perfect for fans of Rayanne Thane, Denise Hunter, and Debbie Maycomber. Art buyer Charlotte Moore is given the chance of a lifetime to be head buyer for the esteemed Wallace Gallery's Christmas Charity Gala. But when she arrives at the auction, after the most prominent pieces are all bought up, in a panic, she bids on the final painting, an unsigned landscape she's nearly sure her boss will despise. To save her job, she finds herself in the beautifully festive New England coastal town of Seabreeze, the setting of the painting. When a nor'easter blows through, she's stuck at the adorable Cove Hill Inn, all decorated for the holiday and brimming with Christmas magic. Get your copy of The Christmas Promise by Lindsay Gibson today, wherever you shop for your holiday reads. That's The Christmas Promise by Lindsay Gibson.
Last year too, kind of
He
get in
did.
with Walden.
Yeah. So we find out that Nathan is evidently a tenor. and if anybody who's ever been at a choir knows, you need tenors. So
I know.
Mhm.
That was so funny. We need tenors. I got to go feed Newton.
And every choir would do almost anything to get more tenors.
Mhm.
We could deal with the devil to get more tenors. It's very difficult. And that's when she says Rusty's for nails, not choirs.
Yeah.
That was so kind of
Elizabeth.
We also get Elizabeth inviting Henry to be in the choir. And it was interesting. On social media, a bunch of people were saying that, it was wrong of Henry to not tell Rosaline about the scholarship. I kind of take a different view. I think I kind of agree with him that telling her would be about him relieving his guilt, not about actually helping her. And I think that there's a point to be made that if she's not in the position, and of course she does end up being in the position to forgive, so it all works out. But if she wasn't in that spot, then I think that there's a point to be made for doing the right thing and not needing to get credit for it, and not needing to have the praise, for it, to just do it. And nobody needs to know why or who did it. I don't know. I think there's something there. I can see his point.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think, Mary, about that?
Yeah, I do too. That very idea. I mean, she confronts him by saying, "You feel guilty. You want to wipe your hands clean." I would say the way he's doing it shows that, of course, he has some guilt, but he wants to make restitution and make it right without that. Look at me. Look at this good I'm doing.
Yeah.
It's that quiet, good, act of goodness, which shows to me so much how he's changed. Yeah, I think it was great that he was trying to just do this good thing out of hoping to help her.
Yeah, that he cared more about her than he cared about himself, getting some kind of, arc for it, some kind of redemption for it. Yeah. Yeah. What do you think, Charlie?
And he did that. I thought so too. Like, I love that he wanted it all about her and not about himself. And he did that last year too with the man. Like, he didn't want them to know. Like,
right.
He was ready to go to jail,
know.
And they were all clapping for him and everything. So
yeah, I agree. And so then we have the big lumber order coming in, them looking at the blueprints. I don't know why. I did think it was kind of funny that you have like probably the most intimate moment between Elizabeth and Nathan is her serving him apple juice.
Yeah.
How would you like some apple juice? I don't know why I thought that was funny. That was very when calls the Hardy. Sit down.
I tell you what, though, was that when he was in her house after Allie fell asleep? Was that?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, I was yelling at the TV. I'm like, get out of her house. You should not be in her house at nighttime. Go talk to somebody else. Go date somebody and talk to her in your life. No,
They
I know
literally have never had a meal together.
Yeah,
Elizabeth and Nathan have never had a meal together.
They've had apple juice now.
Now they've had apple juice. This is very exciting.
But so it was interesting how she asked about Faith and he says she broke things off, and we've hashed through all of that, but can again about how that really what was there. But then he goes, maybe I'm not very good at this thing, or I'm not meant to be that kind of guy. And she says, you're done with love? And he says, maybe I should be, maybe I shouldn't. And I wrote, he's looking at her too closely. Get out of her house.
But I wrote down, this is the most vulnerable and real we've gotten from Nathan, period. In the whole show.
That's true.
And I think to me, I think he feels comfortable with Elizabeth to have these conversations because this is how I view it anyway, that Nathan knows Elizabeth loves Lucas.
Oh, that's true.
And like he knows that there's like Elizabeth doesn't have feelings for him. So he can be vulnerable.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But
because he couldn't be vulnerable with Faith or with May.
True. Sometimes you need somebody in your life to, and he doesn't have like a sister or someone to just be like, here's how I'm feeling. You're a friend.
You can't do that with Bill.
No, he can't.
But I can kind of see where the Team Nathan people are coming from, though, because not only did they have this conversation, which in the world of When Calls Hard is like, whoa, that's like really practically steamy here. They're drinking apple juice together. And so they have this conversation. And then she goes with Jack's hat and goes up to the grave, has this long conversation. And there's all this back and forth between like her thinking about Nathan and Jack being a Mountie. And I was like, wow, I thought that they did an amazing job in 2 episodes of like making me actually be like, what? Are they actually going to do this? Like, I don't think that they are going to do it, but they made me believe that they might. And that was pretty good.
To me, it's all about Jack. Like she was thinking about Jack and saw the hat, so she went to go speak to Jack and all this stuff. To me, that's what I feel.
Because she's preparing to get married again to Lucas, and so she's all of a sudden feeling like, what about Jack? Just like in Downton Abbey when Lady Mary goes to speak to Matthew's grave. I just wanted to let you know how things are going. I'm going to get married again, and I'm happy. So, yeah. I agree with Caroline. It's not dragging in Nathan into this equation. It's the Lucas Jack kind of, and those feelings that she has remembering her first love.
I mean, I think I'm like 90% agreeing with you, but they did convincingly put some doubt in my head. And that was quite a feat, I think.
It helps listening to the writers after the episode.
Okay.
Like on the Facebook page. Because they said it's a friend, like she's concerned about a friend, like she's happy that he's moving on, like all this stuff. So
interesting. It is
That's
interesting. If they
and
did,
Elizabeth and Lucas love each other.
Yeah, I love that. I'm glad that you're bringing all that in. It's helping me.
Yeah.
Because there was that tiny seed of doubt when I'm yelling, get out of her house.
Just a little bit. I mean, they never really follow traditional, like what the courtship and dating standards were for the time on When Calls the Heart. I mean, like Lucas is in her house all the time, and that would not happen. And you would have chaperones, and you would have, it's just, they don't, and that's fine.
They don't, yeah.
It is what it is.
If this were going to happen, like if they were going to switch to Nathan, it would have happened last season, I think, before she accepted a proposal.
I mean, that's why I thought that's why I wanted to see Chris McNally in season 11, because that would be the only reason that I could imagine that them doing that. But if he's in it, but we don't have a lot of, because they're not allowed to promote, so we don't have like a lot of on-set pictures and stuff like that. And so and he's not super active on social media anyway, Chris McNally. So that is, I guess, good to hear, because if he's back, then yeah, they probably are going to get married. But I do think you had said in our group chat, Caroline, that you think that they're probably going to elope, and I do. I do think that that's probably what's going to happen. Yeah.
Episode 12. Calling it right now.
Do we know the title of that episode? Let me check. I know we don't.
Starry Nights.
Starry Nights.
Huh. That doesn't give too much of a clue.
Elopement under the stars in the backyard. That's just me.
Starry Night.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. And so, I mean, for how hard I've been on the writing on the show, I've got to give them credit, though, that I thought these two episodes were very well written, as far as that, like creating intrigue of what's going to happen. It was good. And
they also said like about grief, like grief is going to be a main storyline this season.
Grief.
Yeah. So we have Henry talking to Joseph, and he says, "Be strong and courageous. Your Lord God is with you."
Joshua 1:9. Beautiful verse.
So that was nice. And then Rosaline finds out about the scholarship, and she gets mad at Henry.
Right.
And it was a well acted scene. I think that Martin is just one of the strongest actors in this show. I really do.
And I love how this set up Rosaline with some beautiful moments with her mother to talk about this too. And we've just been praising Henry Gowan this whole season for this arc and this depth and this emotion he's showing, even some humor, as he's going through this. And this was so well done, because how many people who are listening now have been hurt deeply in their lives, and or have been the one who's hurt someone. So both of these storylines can connect so well with people. That message of forgiveness and redemption, what side of this you're on, is beautiful.
And I did see some people on the Twitter saying that, they shouldn't be forcing her to forgive, and I agree that, like, in real life, the timeline would be longer and she'd have probably more space and time. But for this kind of show, I think it's maybe they could have stretched it a couple episodes, maybe. But I think it's, for this kind of show, to have sort of a forgiveness arc within the episode is understandable and well done. And basically she's going to leave, and then her mom Molly talks to her and says that he paid for what he did and he has done good for this town, and talks to her about forgiveness, and it worked for me. I thought that it was, like I said, an effective arc, well acted.
Like and there's no timeline on forgiveness, like you said. It could take a long time for some people, but I did like how it was wrapped into this episode so you could see the fruits of that.
Yeah. What did you think, Caroline?
Back in season 1, one of my favorite episodes is when Rosaline goes missing, because she thinks she calls like her dad to die, and so I love, this is one of my favorites too, because of the whole Rosaline forgiving Henry, that tie back.
Yes. You have such a good memory.
Molly, I love Molly and Rosaline. Like, I love seeing their mother-daughter relationship. Yeah, that was sweet.
Yeah. I still think this Harry guy that's working in the store, him and Rosaline would be great. That would be so good. And so Rosaline and Henry have a moment together, and she apologizes, and he says, "You don't have anything to apologize for." And then he apologizes, and then he says, "That gruff man and I think about how I used to hate him, and that man isn't here anymore. It was very sweet. I enjoyed that.
That was sweet.
Yeah, and I think back to there is something about a forgiveness arc that almost always works for me, because I think that is, whether you're religious or not, it's just part of the human experience. You have to forgive people.
Yep.
And in life, that we all have our wounds, and it's one of the easiest character arcs to relate to, because again, we all have had those experiences where we're really angry at people, and sometimes with different degrees of cause, and we had to go through that forgiveness process.
Yeah, we actually did a 3-part series on that topic in the church news. We explore the spirituality part of it, but also just the health part of it. There are health benefits to being able to forgive. Not ever saying what they did was okay. I'm not, but because it's better for you to be able to move on and be able to, you know what I mean? It's better for your
That's
health.
what I think it's all about. It's for you. Like it's not for the other person. Like you need to move on.
Because people say, oh, you've got to forgive and forget. And I think what they're saying when they say that, because obviously you can't forget, like it's part of your life, like it's there, but you can forget the pain and have it not overtake your life,
or the bitterness, or the anger.
Yeah. So and then we get the final song is All Through the Night, which I was less familiar with than the other ones, but I really liked it. It was a beautiful song. And I thought they kind of nailed it with the music. It was really nice. And then you get Henry coming into the church and Rosaline scooting over, making a space for him.
Yes.
It was very sweet.
Very
it was
sweet.
Very sweet. I also liked earlier we had the little interaction between Henry and Bill. That was nice. Like between the two of them, I thought that was funny, and enjoyed that. So and I guess we haven't really talked that much about Elizabeth at the grave. I thought that was effective. Some good acting from Aaron.
Yeah, so beautiful. And I love how the things she's talking about shows us what she's thinking about. And she says the wedding plans and moving along, which kind of was good for me, because I'm like, okay, right, we're gonna have a wedding, right? So I like that.
It's interesting because I know a lot of people do feel that sort of connection with their loved ones at the cemetery. I never have. Like it's not been like my grandfather. I think I've been to his grave maybe on Memorial Day a couple times, but I don't know. It's just it's interesting how just different people process their grief. And some people that's helpful for them to have that. So this was a pretty good episode. We've got the whole mystery of Montague.
The Montague mystery.
Oh, snap.
The sketchy men on Bill's land. What are they?
And the good old Ben Wilkinson coming in. He's such a great villain.
From your other favorite movie, Rachel. He's a villain.
He's the blackmailer in Engaging Father Christmas.
Favorite.
The minute that you see him, he's going to be the murderer or the blackmailer or. It's so funny. It's like they have a Rolodex at Hallmark where they're just like, oh, here's our villain file. And Ben Wilkinson, he comes up. So it's too bad we never interview. We should eventually one of these days interview him, because he's been in like a million Hallmark movies.
Oh, I would love that.
Yeah. I think he was the murderer in one of the Mystery 101. I mean, a bunch of the mysteries, but particularly one of Mystery 101s. I remember that. So yeah, I give this one a pretty high score. I'd give it, because I really liked the choir. I really liked Henry and Rosaline. I'd give it like an 8.5. Pretty high. What about you, Caroline?
I'll say an 8.5.
Yeah. I think I was at an 8, just because I allowed too much of the online drama to cloud my thinking on this one.
Yeah, I can see that. Okay, so then the next step is called Deep Water, and it's Hope Valley is thrown into chaos when they find out that the governor's arriving early. Nathan and Bill deal with the situation involving Bill's land and Pinkerton agents. So we find out supposedly the wedding's in 6 weeks.
Yeah.
And the invitations have been sent. Which, again, we have had nothing with the wedding.
Just
except
little
for
drops here and there.
Yeah, except for that one conversation with Agatha and Julie. We've had
cake tasting.
Oh yeah, cake taste. And so that's why I think there's something to that elopement thing, because it was brought up early in the season. It would be something different.
And her parents can't come.
Yeah, I wonder if they'll start to get RSVPs and they're like, oh, not that many people can come and this and that and whatever, and they decide to elope. Yeah, maybe. Because right now they keep, in this episode, they keep trying to do some other things, but they keep getting put off. Like they're supposed to be doing some food testing and that. We're gonna have to, I'm so sorry.
That's true. I would love it, and I said this before, but I would love if they went the Jim and Pam route from The Office, where they knew that, you know, all the friends and stuff was going to make it miserable, so they go elope, they go get married, and then they still go through with the wedding after, but knowing that they already had their kind of perfect little ceremony for themselves. They didn't care what else was going wrong during the wedding, because that was all really just for their friends.
I like that.
Yeah,
and you could just see them together. I would love that.
Yeah, that would be really sweet if they just got Bill and said, will you marry us? And then
Bill or Joseph could do it, either one.
Oh yeah, Joseph, that's true. Joseph could do it.
We'd like to take a second and thank our sponsor for this episode of the podcast. It's the Hallmarkies merch store.
Are you looking for that perfect gift for the postable, Hardy, or Hallmarky in your life?
What about getting that t-shirt or hoodie that will help you stand out at your next holiday party?
Now is the time to check out the Hallmarkies merch store.
Full of festive designs by artists like Jessica Miller, Carrie from Hallmark Comics, and more.
You can even have more than just shirts, but totes, cell phone cases, notebooks, mugs, and more.
And it isn't just Hallmark. We have designs for Anna Green Gables, Man from Snowy River, The Nanny, and more.
Every purchase at the merch store goes to help support the podcast and allows us to make the great content you know and love.
There are frequent sales, so go to tpublic.com/stores/Hallmarkies or see the link in the description.
That's tpublic.com/stores/Hallmarkies.
Hey, Kevin McGarry was in prime form this episode. That very beginning scene, which was pretty swoon worthy, and Elizabeth's like looking at him, and he's got his like sleeves rolled up, and he's got the suspenders on.
I was telling my husband, I'm like, he's almost in his undershirt here in public. What the heck?
I put, Nathan looks pretty hunky in the rolled up t-shirt. And so Elizabeth sees him with Allie and with little Jack, and I don't know, like she was looking at him like something.
I know, but then she said she was thinking about Allie, right? But it looks like she's looking at him because the camera focuses on him. But then I thought because I have 5 children and I feel like everybody should have lots and lots of children. Like, was she thinking, oh, Jack needs a sibling? But that's totally me coming out.
I could see it. But I can't overstate how effectively, particularly in this episode, they got me to think, are they actually doing this? Is this actually going to happen? Are the Team Nathan people right? And because I watched it kind of later. I watched both these episodes later in the evening. So I'd seen some of that and I was like, no way. And then I watched it and I was like, oh my gosh.
Especially the very end of this episode. That's when I started to have some more of those doubts creep in. Like, oh no, this is a soap opera.
Like, I still don't think so, but they did a great job in making that doubt.
Talk us off the ledge, Caroline.
Yeah. See, I'm thinking it's like all about grief. And like Jack's not there. Because ever since Elizabeth and little Jack had that conversation in, I forget what episode it was, when Rosie had the baby and about his daddy. And I think like she's just thinking about all the stuff that Jack's missing. Because Nathan is a Mountie and all this stuff.
Yeah, I think you're right. It's just it was very well done. I thought this is one of the most effective episodes of Winkle's Heart in a long time, I thought. And when I did laugh when he said nothing brings people out of their shell more than poor pitch.
She goes, like I always say.
And Rosemary was in prime form this episode because she is like promised a choir, a live speech on the radio, original song in governor's honor, and a black tie gala.
It was so funny how they're looking at her, and Elizabeth knows. She's like, and she's like,
They don't even have
deal.
black ties in Hope Valley. Like what?
And Dancing Under the Stars.
Yeah, they don't have I don't think they have tuxedos in Hope Valley.
And then Lucas is like, and tomorrow, like what?
Yeah,
Like,
tomorrow. I do think there is something to the effect of like, just as human beings, we just make it happen. You make, and I guess you end up just cutting some corners and you end up just ignoring things when you have, but it's like the exact same thing. It seems like sometimes can depending on how many hands are involved and how much money you're willing to spend and different things like that. I feel like the same thing can take a year of planning that can take a week, depending on how intense you are in really getting it done and doing it.
Yes. It doesn't have to be this perfect. It can be good enough.
Yeah.
mm-hmm.
Yeah. And she's like, I got carried away and everything. And she was great.
Rosie.
Yeah. So fun.
Oh my goodness.
And and Lee saying, you're just being my Rosie and there's nothing you can't accomplish if you believe.
Speaking of forgiveness, he just immediately forgave her, like, okay, that's fine. My Rosie's what she does,
But I did love the way the whole town was like, it's our Rosemary. We love her. It was just a love fest.
Nobody was angry. They were like,
yeah.
The top, that's fine. We can all work really hard. Oh,
she did that in season 3 too. Like when the newspaper writer came to do like about Hope Valley.
I was thinking about
she
that.
She was all over the top about all that stuff.
That was before her wedding, right? Wasn't that before?
She wasn't even engaged.
Oh,
it was
okay.
In New Year's
Why
wish.
was I thinking that was? Okay, yeah. Well, yeah, I because one of the most annoying plot points for me with When Calls the Heart was when everybody was getting mad and acting like Rosemary was a bad person because she's trying to plan Elizabeth's wedding in 2 weeks. And that she was like being a bully or something about it. And I'm like, they literally gave her 2 weeks. Like, what's wrong?
You gotta snap, you gotta get people to get in line,
Yeah. And everybody was acting like she was a bad person. And I'm like, I don't know, it's driving me crazy. So it's nice to see that everybody's pretty much come around on Rosemary.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It's beloved.
What can we do? Okay, we do this.
Yeah.
I wonder, didn't Lee build a stage for Rosemary a few seasons ago? Or was he just talking about doing it?
I think he was just talking about it.
Yeah, he's been promising one for a long time. And then, she said, oh, finally we'll have a stage, which was cute.
That was so cute.
Yeah, that was cute. And so we get more about Montague. Like Jamie sends this book back. Montague doesn't know anything about him or what his schooling or
so sus
where they're at. So it's very fishy. He says that he don't think they're actually engaged. And so he was manipulating her. Obviously he has some kind of blackmail over her and to get her to buy this land. And then he's been buying other people's land. So there's lots of shadiness going on. And there's this whole hostage situation with the Pinkertons holding up the cabin and Nathan kind of stops them. And then this hostage guy holds Nathan up and
yeah, I thought it was going to be bigger than that. Like,
the way they
making it seem.
And then it was like, oh, it's fine. Like I was waiting for this dramatic, like heart. Isn't this the same cabin that also had some sort of problem with Elizabeth and Jack comes to rescue her? Is that the same cabin?
Yeah, they've used it a bunch of times. Isn't it where she had little Jack? That cabin?
Oh yes, exactly. So yeah, I was expecting this big dramatic, thing, and then it was fine.
I did think it was pretty effective though when Nathan grabs the gun away from the hostage guy. He's like, like that was pretty good.
That was good.
I never thought I'd see a Mountie be on the side of the Pinkertons. That was good. That's good. And so they're digging, like, find out they're digging this trench, and that is gonna like stop the water.
Yes,
And
divert it and
yeah.
send it to Union City.
Yeah. And so there's no more hot springs.
No, they're oh my
Right
God.
up.
The hot springs are just getting flowed in with the cold water, I guess, from just kind of I don't know.
Yeah, they're empty. They were like empty. So there's a very effective diversion, evidently.
Yes, they're siphoning all the water off. Yeah.
And then we have, let's see what else is going on. Kind of all over the place, my notes, sorry. So yeah, we've got more. So May and Hickam are responsible for writing a song for
that Bumblebee song.
The Bumblebee song. He's like, now it's you, now it's you, now it's you. She's like, Bumblebee, Bumblebee.
Yeah.
So
I like
funny.
Hickam and May singing the Bumblebee song. That was good.
Cute.
And him playing the banjo. I'm like,
oh my gosh.
Yeah, that was fun. And the kids write a song, and that was cute. That was cute.
About Rosemary, apparently.
Yeah. And it's interesting. So that's why I was thinking, are they really trying to do this May and Hickam thing? Because Fiona says there's nothing that can't happen when it's May and Hickam. Like, this is a pairing.
And everybody, like every woman in town is like plotting to like further this relationship, you know? You see it in the diner where they're like, I love, you know? So yeah, this is maybe
I'm fine with it. May and Hickam.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Sure. They're so sweet. This is perfect.
And
if May messes with Hickam, though, she's gonna have to talk to me.
And so Elizabeth finds out that Nathan has been called off for this hostage situation, and she finds the telegram or whatever, and she gets very upset, and she says, I can't do this again, not again. And Henry sees her and having this panic attack.
Focus roll to Gowan. Loved it.
And yeah, it's interesting that she immediately kind of takes this as something that's happening to her. You know what I'm saying? That because this is not somebody that's like with Jack, it was something happened to her. She was married to him. This is just a member of the town, but she takes it so personal.
That's why I think it's all about PTSD and like Jack, and not like necessarily about Nathan.
Just like that episode a couple seasons ago where she runs to give Nathan a hug. It wasn't because it was that whole PTSD and anxiety for a friend. Now all the doubt being sown, it's like, oh, we're going to do a switch here. But I think you're exactly right, Caroline. It's that flashback to Jack's death, that grief still, which isn't linear. And maybe she's the kind of person who does feel other people's worries and fears and emotions unnecessarily as well. I don't know if that makes any sense. Like not being able to breathe through it, and I don't have to worry about this, it'll be okay, instead being worried about it.
I 90% agree with you, but there is that. Are there what? Maybe, I don't know. It got me. She did a great job. She absolutely sold it to me, and I just think. And then when they have Henry talking to Elizabeth at the end, saying that, look, my dad told me to never offer unsolicited advice, but I'll make this an exception to the rule. And he says, I think you should give some thought to how you were feeling yesterday.
Yeah.
Like, oh.
Yeah.
This is very good.
I think he knows.
Yeah.
Like what it's about. To me.
Yeah. And so we have these aqueducts that are stealing the water for Union City. And so that's going to be interesting to see what happens with that. And
the future.
Yeah. And they sing the Hope Valley song, and I loved that there was a whole line in the song about Rosemary. That's cute. And they welcome the governor, and everything's fine.
Oh, the governor, he's another Hallmark actor that you always see in that role.
Yeah.
He's not the actor that played her father in like season. He's not, right? All of a sudden I'm panicking. Okay, it's not the same actor. But you always see him in that very stately leadership kind of role.
Yeah.
Good. A great Great pick for the governor. That was so cute, and they're all sitting there singing. It had come together, and the best. Oh, I forgot about this part where Rosemary's panicking, and she's like, "Keep walking," and she's like, "I'm overwhelmed. And then she goes, "It's time to get underwhelmed. Get on top of it, Coulter."
Yeah,
that was so funny.
it's also nice. It's nice when the show gives us pairings that we don't always see. It would have been very easy to have made Rosemary the person that saw her have the panic attack. It would have been easy to make, somebody like that, or even Lucas. The fact that it was Henry, not that they don't spend any time together. They have scenes together, but I don't know. I thought, oh, that's an interesting choice to have Henry be the one to see her and be the one to say this. That it worked.
She's
I
been
guess
so
supportive of him.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. And so I think this was very effective. It really worked for me. I left thinking like I'm dying to see episode 10. So that's I don't know what else you can really ask for in a One Calls the Heart episode than to have you dying to see the next one.
I wish we could see all of them right now.
I know.
You cannot wait for next week. Yeah. This one for sure left me being like, okay, what's gonna happen?
So I give it a 10. I thought it was extremely effective episode of the show, and if the next episode, not that I need her to be with Nathan or what, but if it just kind of drops the ball and we don't get like a satisfying kind of conclusion, then it will be extremely low and I'll be very annoyed. But for now, this was effective. This was about all that you can ask from One Calls the Heart, I think. So I'd give it a 10. What do you think, Caroline?
I'd give it a 10 as well. I thought it was very good.
Yeah, it was very good. What do you think, Mary?
Oh, a 10 for sure. A lot of fun in this episode.
Yeah. Well, very good. And we're a little bit unsure about what's going on for our next recap because I'm going to be out of town, but we're going to figure it out. And so just make sure you're following us on social media and all that stuff, and we'll figure it out. But Mary, how can people follow you?
So I'm at _ Mary Richards on Twitter, Mary Richards Reports on Instagram, and Reporter Mary Richards on Facebook. Great.
And Caroline?
On Twitter at Meet a Caroline or X, whatever you want to call it.
Oh, yeah.
Twitter, X.
And you can find me at Rachel's Reviews, all over social media, iTunes, YouTube, and on Rotten Tomatoes. Check that out. And also make sure you're following us on social media at Hallmarkies Pod and Hallmarkies Podcast. And if you are listening on iTunes, please leave your ratings and reviews. That really, really, really helps us a lot. And if you are watching on YouTube, please give the video a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. Most of our viewers on YouTube aren't subscribers. So if you're in that camp, please subscribe. It really helps the algorithm a lot. And we've got some really good stuff coming up. So you're going to want to be subscribed. And we also have our patron group, which is the best way you can support us. And we sure appreciate that. And lots of good perks for the patrons. And then we have our merch store, which has tons of Hardee's inspired merch. And we have some new stuff coming in the next couple of weeks. So check that out. And thanks so much, everybody. We'll talk to y'all later. Bye.